What up? I'm Chet Papelka, and this is the Braves TomaBlog. I'm recording live at 6:37 p.m. on Monday while the Dodgers and Rockies game is currently going on, but it's 5-0 in the 7th inning, which means that I'm going to assume that the Dodgers will finish their business. From the way it's looking, Colorado is admitting defeat and getting ready for their play-in game, which means that the matchup is finally set, and I get to do what I've waited all season to do, which is to do a series preview for the NLDS, because I now know the matchup. It's the Braves and the Dodgers, and I was able to sort of go down, look at all the matchups, all the numbers and everything, and be able to sit here and vent all that out about what I'm anticipating, how it's going to look, and our path to victory. In order to win our first NLDS series since, I should have remembered this better, I think I think 2001 we went to the NLCS. Since then, have not advanced. I would love for this to be the year. In terms of the matchups, it's not looking good. I'm not going to lie. As I was going through these matchups, and I knew once we knew that we were going to face the NL West opponent that it wasn't a good bet, because they've straight up owned us. Both the Dodgers and the Rockies had both owned us whenever we played them this year, and the Braves historically are terrible against the NL West. So back in 2013 when we made the playoffs, we were, just a poor matchup for the Dodgers, who have not left the postseason since then. And really, in terms of experience, I don't think that there could be a more skewed matchup. Are you not sick of seeing the Dodgers, not only in the playoffs, but in the NLCS pretty much every year, because they tend to draw the team that's not ready. They get the Nationals. That's what happened, the last couple times. They get the Nationals, and the AL East team, or the NL East team, almost never advances. The Dodgers get to the NLCS every year, and they typically lose there. So, in terms of looking at these matchups, for one, Walker Buehler just won, and so they're going to get to advance. Not only do they advance, but they get home field advantage, and they saved their best pitcher for their play-in game. So he gets to start Game 1. You know who that is. It's Clayton Kershaw. This isn't the first time we've had to do this. We've had to face Clayton Kershaw in Game 1 before. We get to do it again. So in terms of, we know what we got. In terms of Clayton Kershaw and the narrative, he's not a postseason pitcher. I think it's a little worn out at this point. Not even in terms of, David Price, that's been proved. He's not a postseason pitcher. This thing about Clayton Kershaw is not a postseason pitcher, it's worn out in that he's been to the postseason every year for the last 10 years. I'm sorry about all the background noise. I got a new apartment and there's not a great place to record, so I'm outside. But as I was saying, Kershaw in the postseason every year, going deep. We've seen 1 million Clayton Kershaw postseason games at this point, so we've seen all types of things go on. I have seen personally, the dude can deal in the postseason, especially when he's playing the Braves. That's what happened to us in 2013. So it's not as though Clayton Kershaw comes out and he's not himself and he gives up 6 runs. That's not what happens. What happens is that Clayton Kershaw is not the same pitcher in the postseason that he is in the regular season. And for what that's worth, Clayton Kershaw has dealt with injuries for the last 3 years, really. He's not the same pitcher at all anymore. That said, he's still Clayton Kershaw. And you're sending Mike Foltynewicz out to beat him. Foltynewicz actually had the better year, so we'll get more into that. But looking at the starting pitching, with the Dodgers, they have a ton of, we think as the Braves, we have a ton of pitching options. We're nothing in comparison to them. People might not know they moved Alex Wood to the bullpen, so that came as a relief to me in a sense that I was like, oh, well, at least because Wood has had our number as well. Alex Wood's in the bullpen, but that might serve as an advantage for them, that Wood can go deep or go long. But so anyway, I got Kershaw, I got Rich Hill, I got Walker Buehler, and I got Maeda, and I got Stripling, and Ryu's doing well as well. So I don't know who they're going to go with. They're going to pick 4 because it's been proven that Kershaw can't go on 2 days rest. So they're going to pick 4. They can draw out of a hat, in all honesty. They're all doing pretty well. So I'm figuring, Rich Hill they probably go with for the experience, and then I would guess Buehler, and I would go with Stripling because Maeda has struggled. And use Ryu out of the bullpen along with Wood, and then you get Kershaw again. For us, we've known it, we've talked about it, Foltynewicz, Anibal Sanchez, Kevin Gausman, and then probably Julio Teheran, but you have the option to start Touki Toussaint if you want. We all know we're not starting Sean Newcomb. I don't even know if he'll be on the roster, but that will be interesting to watch what we do with that. In terms of matchups, in terms of how we stack up against the Dodgers, it's a losing bet. It's not looking too good. The first part of this podcast is going to be me essentially convincing you the Braves have, it's a bad bet. If I were a betting man, I would put a lot on the Dodgers because they have pretty much every advantage, and then I'll spend the second half going over what do we do from there, and I think you'll enjoy the second half a lot more. In terms of the matchups, Dodgers got advantage everything. Starting pitching, like I said, they just have experience, but they also have one of, possibly the best pitcher of the generation in Clayton Kershaw. Buehler, who's, their version of Fultonevich. Hill, who's their version of Anibal Sanchez. And then they can just, grab bag of effective pitchers who are pitching well right now. And then a very good bullpen beyond that. Speaking of which, their bullpen's better, more talented, and more expensive than ours. And their lineup and their bench, it's just better. It's just, this is the richest team in baseball, and they look like it. They spent their prospects on trades. So yeah, in terms of all the matchups I go down, there's not one area where I go, you know what, our roster's better than theirs here or there. It's not. The Dodgers are the more talented, more expensive, more experienced team. So for the Braves to win, they're going to have to beat a better team. That's just the reality. Their record is better. I can't think of anything that I look at that I go like, okay, that's not entirely true. To say that we have no advantages or nothing that we're better at all. But in terms of regular things that you stack up, starting pitching, bullpen, lineup, bench, they're better. No question about it. The other massive advantage to the Dodgers, aside from the home field advantage, is that I look at this team and I see just a whirlwind. It's a beret line of Braves killers. This roster is stacked with people who just eat the Braves alive for their whole career. This is not some new thing that I'm looking at these guys and be like, oh, I don't know how we're going to handle them. That's true for Max Muncy, who I also don't know how we're going to handle, but Clayton Kershaw has dominated the Braves his entire life. Alex Wood, ever since we traded him, has made us regret it every day since. Worst trade that I can, in the pre-Frank Wren era, or post-Frank Wren era. Beyond that, Matt Kemp. He beat us before he was a Brave. He beat us while he was Brave. I'm not going to get into that. And he was good against us this year whenever we faced him. So Matt Kemp, he scares me a lot. Chase Utley, he's a lifetimer. He killed us with the Phillies. I'm worried about him with the Dodgers. Upon that, the one that just gives me chills down my spine is Manny Machado, who has been in the AL East. We never even have to face this guy. We faced him twice this year, and he just roasted the Braves on a stick. You probably remember the 14-inning game that never should have gone 14 innings in Baltimore, that he ends up hitting the 3-run bomb off of Peter Moylan. And then I was like, well, at least we never have to see Machado again. Gets traded to the Dodgers, come back, and they take 3 out of 4 against us. Same thing going on there. Machado just killed the Braves. So I am not looking forward to facing Manny Machado at all. And wouldn't it be great if he went to the Phillies? So yeah, as I'm going through this lineup, I see this looks like a team built to beat the Braves. And so that's all the bad news. That's all that I've been able to pack into this 8 minutes. That's all the reason that the Dodgers should just handle the Braves. We're not going to stop there. I'm going to keep going because I want to touch on the path to victory. Just the things that the Braves have to do in order to get there, because this is the MLB postseason. Just being the better team doesn't mean that much. We've seen 83-win Cardinals teams go on and win the World Series. We've seen the Giants win the World Series. You can beat them. And so I want to spend the rest of this looking on the path to victory. How the Braves can beat this team that is clearly better than them in pretty much every way. For one, beat Clayton Kershaw. That's just my first one. It's in all bold. That's the clearest form. That's literally the structure for any team to beat the Dodgers in the postseason, is that if you lose to Clayton Kershaw, you're going to have a hard time. If you beat Clayton Kershaw, you'll probably win. That's just true for everyone, and we have a massive sample size to see that. When Clayton Kershaw wins Game 1, the Dodgers are probably going to win, because after they have a one-game lead, and then you get Clayton Kershaw either again in Game 5 or in a final game, if it's a Game 5, Game 7, what have you, they feel that much better, knowing that they have Kershaw out in front of you now, that you have to beat them quickly or else you'll have to face Kershaw again. If you can beat Clayton Kershaw in Game 1, and then they're down and saying, how do we come back, and they have to send guys who aren't Clayton Kershaw, like Rich Hill, Walker Buehler, Kenta Maeda, Ross Stripling, Hyun-Jin Ryu, puts the pressure massively on the shoulders of these expensive veterans who... they do have a lot of pressure, that there's a window that the Dodgers are dealing with because they have the luxury tax, they have a ton of money that's being spent, and they have a lot of long-term contracts. The team is aware of it, and they're aware they can't just keep cruising to the playoffs forever. They saw that this year. They're not happy to be playing in a play-in game right now. They thought they'd be winning 105 games. So the pressure is mounting on the Dodgers, and the best way to eclipse that pressure, beat Clayton Kershaw. And so that's going to come down really to Mike Foltynewicz. And we don't know what to expect from Mike Foltynewicz. So, what you could hope for in that situation is that Foltynewicz comes out. You remember Sonny Gray beat Justin Verlander back in the day, and he just outpitched him, just pitch for pitch. Never would have expected it, and everyone that wasn't familiar said, who is Sonny Gray? We found out, but that was, Sonny Gray was a rookie that year, and he outdueled Justin Verlander. So it is possible, and Foltynewicz is the guy to do it, if that's the case. So you would love to see Foltynewicz just continue with what he's doing. I think, that could definitely be just a classic postseason game, especially if the Braves win. It would be a game you'd remember forever. So path to victory, number 1, beat Clayton Kershaw, and then you feel way better about getting 2 more wins prior to seeing Kershaw again in a potential Game 5. So that's number 1. Second path to victory, make Dave Roberts overmanage. This is the one area where I say advantage Braves. Brian Snitker, Dave Roberts, I'll take Brian Snitker every time. I know there are tons of Braves fans who get mad at Brian Snitker about in-game decisions, the way he manages the bullpen, and I think if you asked a Dodgers fan, they would tell you, you have no idea. You have no idea what that... I'm a Falcons fan, and when I hear other people complain about, like, oh, my team collapses, I'm like, that's adorable. Dave Roberts is the king. Probably will be dethroned by Gabe Kapler, but Dave Roberts is the king of overmanaging and unnecessary pitching changes and overthinking and over-substituting and pressing too many buttons that paralyzes his team. If Brian Snitker and the Braves can get in his head, and for what Snitker that kind of means is managing a little bit more yourself. Get in the head of Dave Roberts, make switches, put Lucas Duda in the 5th inning. Not at first base, but, pinch hit him, surprise him, and make him go like, oh, should I, switch pitchers here? Should I pull Kershaw or someone early? Get in Dave Roberts' head. He is prone to make that mistake, and coaches don't improve this. You're either born with it or you aren't, and managers never learn to actually manage in big games. Dave Roberts doesn't know how to manage in big games. The only way that they win is with their talent. So Dave Roberts is a great route to victory for the Braves is if they can get him to make the mistake that he's made before. Third path to victory is that the Dodgers have a clear understanding of how to beat the Braves. And that's going to be that they're going to communicate to all of the pitchers, don't let Freddie Freeman and Nick Markakis beat you. Every pitcher in baseball for 162 games has said that. They've tried it. It's worked more or less. But the reason that the Braves are here is not simply because of that. It's because of 3 guys that I've highlighted they're not here because of these 3 guys, but these are the 3 guys that I say these are the ones I'm circling to beat the Dodgers if this is the case. Johan Camargo, Charlie Culberson, Ronald Acuna. They're going to do everything they can to silence Freddie Freeman and Nick Markakis. The ones that they're not going to think about, the ones that they're not going to devote all their attention to or not get the luxury of doing that, is Johan Camargo, Charlie Culberson, and Ronald Acuna Jr. Those are the guys that I want up with 2 on, 2 out. Those are the ones who I can easily see it in my mind, them having a big 2-out double that clears the bases and breaks the game open. These are the guys who I can see, and every team that goes on a postseason run has the guys. When they have a job, they step up and do it. I remember like the 2004 Red Sox team, people talking about like, oh yeah, everyone had a job to do at some point, and they did it. That was in the 30 for 30. That's what you're going to need, and so I can definitely see with Charlie Culberson, Johan Camargo, Ronald Acuna, they're going to be the ones that you forget about, which sounds shocking to say that about Ronald Acuna Jr., but in reality, you don't get to game plan for Ronald Acuna Jr. You can't game plan for Ronald Acuna Jr. So for him to, pimp a first-inning home run, for him to get on, steal a base, cause a wild pitch, and literally he steals runs. I'm sorry about that sound. I don't know what that is. Ronald Acuna Jr. steals runs, and so for him to do that in big moments, I think it will go a very long way. In order to win in the postseason, it's got to be the small guys, and that's why the Dodgers scare me so much is because they have so many. With the Braves, they don't have that many, but they have very effective ones, and they have the right guys. And those three that I've highlighted, Camargo, Culberson, Acuna, and Culberson's one of the only guys on this team with postseason experience. But he's done that for the Dodgers. He's been that guy for the Dodgers. So it would be great if he could do that for you. And the last one that I've highlighted is use Touki Toussaint. It's going to be a hard series. It's going to be really difficult to win in any case. The Dodgers just have you in talent, money, experience, all of that. You have them on this. You have guys who they've never faced. You have guys who are hot, who they don't know how to handle. And so, a guy who can go long out of the bullpen, a guy who can be explosive, a guy who could step up to the big moment, he could cost you. But as Braves fans, we all know what it's like to have a pitcher who you want to use, and he's sitting on the bench when you just blew the game. Don't let Touki Toussaint be sitting on the bench as we let our season slip away. Utilize Touki Toussaint, utilize what you have, and that could be, Max Fried, it could be Chad Sabaka. Utilize what you have, and that's people that they've never seen before. Get big outs with them, cover innings that you need covered with them, and surprise them, and so that your guys, Camargo, Culberson, and Acuna, can step up and be there in the moment. So I'm going to release this hopefully tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. We play on Thursday. I think we play on Friday again, and then we'll come home for the weekend, I believe, but I have not checked that. So thank you guys for listening. This was the series preview of the game, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch every game like my life depended on it, and I'm going to record a podcast either that night or the next morning, just reacting to everything and how it went. So thank you guys for listening. Let me know how you guys feel. Leave a comment saying either how excited you are, what you're concerned about, what you're looking for, all the things I talked about, meaning paths to victory, areas where we're overmatched, or just what you'll do should we win, should we advance to the NLCS for the first time since 2001. I'm super excited to hear from you guys. I'm super excited for the postseason. We waited this out. We did it. We won the NL East. I know we're all on cloud nine about it. So let me know how you guys feel. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Shep Pelka, Braves TomaBlog. Go Braves.